Hello and welcome to the third installment in the How to Train Your Lilac series of tutorials. Tonight we'll be covering Fortune Night, which is one of my favorite stages. It's got great music, it's got a lot of fun tricks, and really good atmosphere. This is the analog to Casino Night Zone, obviously. Right off the bat, there's a cycle to make. So I'll go ahead to show you where the cycle is happening, and then I'll explain how to make it. Right here, there's an upper dragon balloon and there's a lower dragon balloon. If you make it here as fast as humanly possible, the upper dragon balloon is going to be very slightly in your way. If you are just a tiny bit slower, then you will fall through where the upper dragon balloon has just passed through and land on the lower dragon. And it's possible to just completely ignore the lower dragon and do a little kind of a cyclone glide into this alcove here where the earth shield and the crystal plant are. But that's difficult, so I don't expect anybody to be getting that right away. So let's talk about how to get to the cycle. There's a number of things that have to be chained together. First of all, jump from the last moment on this flat, and then jump after hanging in the air or dive kick after hanging in the air for a bit to reach the springs below. You want to get far enough that you don't clip the roof as you dive kick. Like that. Just do a regular bounce off these springs. Now, as I get further into this series, I'm less and less going to need to reinforce things I mentioned earlier, tricks, how to do them. So I'll be mostly covering the specific things for a stage and the route, rather than explaining in detail how to do a cyclone jump or something like that, which is really nice, because I don't want to be spending 2.5, 3 hours on the later videos. So bounce off this spring, and then in the air, you want to dive kick onto the downslope of the upper roof up here. Which requires a cyclone to get over there. And this slope is of the right variety to troll you and not give you any speed. And this is just through experience that you're going to have to combat this. There are alternative strategies to make up lost time, and the good thing is that if you do happen to miss this dive kick and get slope trolled, that sets you up pretty well for the cycle later in the stage. It isn't as fast as you can possibly go, but it is fairly fast. So once you've dive kicked correctly, that was a slope troll right there. Got 0 speed even though it dive kicked onto the slope properly. Okay, that was not a slope troll. You see how I jumped off the upslope afterward? The lip of the roof? If you do that, you can reach the area where the sky starts to go dark. You see that there's the mountains in the background, and then there's a dark purple sky followed by an even darker purple sky followed by the black. And I try to have Lilac sprite at least level with the middle shade, the very dark purple, or higher, and then just boost from here. Dive kick out of the boost, and you want to wait slightly after the boost ends, and you'll drop straight down this chute. So what that all looks like: jump, dive kick onto the springs, cyclone, dive kick, jump, and boost over the top. Dive kick a little bit late, and as you come down this chute, steer left momentarily so that you avoid landing on this roof. It is really easy to land on this roof. Like if I were to just hold right going down that chute, See, it's all in my muscle memory now, but if you hold right down that chute, you will just land on that roof. So you need to tap left and right about halfway down the chute to avoid that. You want to land on this slope with your dive kick facing right, and that will give you enough speed to proceed to the right and cyclone jump off of a small quarter pipe to get up to the roof, like this. And this is where you want to wind up. This is a bit of a difficult cyclone jump. It requires pretty tight timing, and you can easily fail it and get just not enough speed to get all the way to the top. See there, I landed on the roof. Now I don't have enough speed, so I can't make this cyclone jump. So you have to do everything correct to this point to make this cyclone jump, really. At least you have to get the dive kick down the chute correctly, land on the slope correctly, and then get the cyclone jump correctly. Otherwise, you're stuck down there. There is an alternative. There is an alternative to this. It sacrifices 2 seconds. I can't even do that now. What I used to do is this. Something like that, and then this bridge will raise up, blocking your path. If you jump above it, it will retract. And there you are, back to the roof I mentioned earlier. So that's an alternative route that you can use as a beginner. This is a really good place to learn cyclone jumping, though. Like, you can go down here, and it takes a little bit of backtracking just because you need the speed. And like either dive kick. Yeah, dive kicking works well there. Or you can even just go down here and boost, I think. Yeah, so you can just do dragon boost down there and cyclone jump on this, and it's really a really good way to get used to cyclone jumping. And the way cyclone jumping works, I explained this in Dragon Valley, but I'll explain it here too, is you're holding forward and right and forward like you see on my input viewer, and then you press B and then A in rapid succession and hold down A. So forward and down, B, A, hold A. You can pre-cyclone, so you just do like the B back here and then the jump later on when you get to the slope. And when you do the cyclone jump itself, you have to let go of down. Otherwise you will start to steer the cyclone down like this. See how little height I got there? That's because I was holding down and it steered the cyclone down pretty sharply. So as soon as you do the jump, you have to let go of down. You can also press up, I think. I don't really do that though. I don't know. That could help, maybe not. I just never use it. So after you get over here, you want to jump from this upslope and boost forward, if I have boost. And there's a problem here, because if you use the boost over here, if you used my beginner strat to get up here, you have no meter. So what you can do in this case is either take the loop like this and do a jump dive like this, or you can go over top of the loop but without the boost. Like this. And you can do a cyclone jump there too if you want. Now we're going to get into how to make this cycle. And the reason that going the upper route takes 2 seconds longer is because you arrive on a later cycle here. Like, you arrive when the upper dragon is kind of blocking your path and you have to wait for it to pass by. That takes 2 seconds over what the bottom route would. You just arrive on one later cycle. So when you... The spot we're trying to get to is above here. It's where there's a stop sign. The stop sign itself is not the trigger, but it's usually what we use to count when we got there. Like 19 or 21 seconds is a usual mark for that. So the trigger is actually the seam between these two bushes. They're horizontal, like flat bushes in the background here, and there's a seam right between two of them, and that's where the trigger happens for this ship to fly on screen. So that's the point you're trying to reach through all this. And the fast strategy can get there at about 18 seconds if you do it perfectly. Cyclone jump here. If you happen to use the boost here, you can jump dive off of the leading edge of that loop that you go over the top of, and then when you get to the bottom, you either land on the dragon, or if you want to do advanced strats, you can do a down cyclone steered up in the air. So you would, as you're dropping, you're holding down and forward, like I am right now, and you've already done a dive kick with B, and then when you reach the point where you want to start cycloning, you would rapidly press A and up. So this first 20 seconds of the stage, this is the really difficult part when you start learning Portion Knight. These dragon balloons are going to get in your way all the time. Kind of like that, except if I did it slightly later, I would run right into the Earth Shield with my Cyclone and collect it immediately. If that happens, I could go past it, hit this spring over here, jump and boost to the right along the flat there, and that's how you get to the stop sign at 18.5 seconds. That is really difficult to do. I don't get it consistently at all at this point. Hitting that Cyclone straight out of the air with no cue, I mean, you're moving so fast at that point, descending, that there really is no way to get a cue for it. Even the buildings rushing past aren't really a reliable cue. At least not for me yet. Maybe I'll get good enough to the point where I can use the buildings as a cue. So I mentioned that you can, if you go as fast as possible, you run into the upper dragon balloon. Any small delay will prevent that from happening. If you encounter a small delay, like running into a wall momentarily as you're trying to jump over it or whatever, on the way there, then you're good. But if you get to the point where you're consistently doing this perfectly and you want to dial it back slightly so that you make this cycle, here's what you do. When you're doing this cyclone jump, push against the roof like that. Push against the right side. You won't get a ceiling run. It's not the right kind of slope for that. And that will slow you down just enough so that when I boost up here, you see how the upper dragon was just receding into the wall as I went by? That gives you just enough a delay to get behind that dragon balloon and make it under here. So then you're probably, because you just boosted over the loop above, unless you use the easier strat, if you boost it over the loop above, then when you get down there, you're not going to have any meter. So immediately you have to pick up the Earth Shield and pick up some crystals, and then you'll have enough meter. And the boost needs to be a little bit spaced out from the wall so that you don't ricochet off of the right side. Okay, I could have done the spring strat there, but you see how I have only half meter. So you can either stop and pick up the crystals over here, or you can jump here and wait for a moment and then jump again and then boost. And you want to boost, like I just did, about here, about 2/3 of the way over, so that you don't hit this corner. Then you see all the railings in the background. I tend to wait on the right side here. So there's like there's a post here, there's a post here, there's a post here. I wait on the right side of the very last post in that red fence in the background. Now this laser will go back and forth twice. When it bounces away from you, when it's close to you and bounces away, the second time is when you start moving left. And drop down to this bar. Then here you want to drop and cyclone back up to the Or wait, how do I do this? Let me see. I just do it all by instinct at this point. Excuse me for a moment. I need to take care of something. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. And then I will continue the tutorial. Alright, I'm back. And this spot, like getting to this spot is really the challenge of starting out in Fortune Knight. If you can't make it here reliably, the dragon balloons are going to be a problem for you when you start out regardless, and it'll take you a while to get used to their cycles and how fast you need to be to make it through the top balloon. Starting out with the beginner strat is definitely a good idea unless you want to just jump right into cyclone jumps, which also can be a very good idea because you do need to learn them eventually. And this is, like I said, a good training ground. Once you get to this point, like I would practice the first 20 seconds of Fortune Knight more than you practice the rest of the stage for a little while till you get comfortable with it, at least. And then you can move on to the rest. The rest is pretty difficult too. So right here, I'll switch to Freedom Planet. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, and as it bounces away, move forward. Okay, I dropped through, but what you're supposed to do there is jump once, re-grab the hang bar, then drop below it, cyclone up. I'll show you. There is no checkpoint on the first screen, so you have to learn the first screen as a whole. Okay, so when you drop down, there's 1, there's 2, jump, drop, cyclone up, and then roll boost through the mines. So going back, these blocks, the position of these blocks is important as well. Like, if you did everything correctly to this point, they should be on the right cycle if you to just go through and do this. So jump, something like that. And when you drop to the ground, you need to be after these springs. These can be a little bit of a bother, these springs here. So that's what the cyclone is there for, to get you past those springs. If you need to cyclone a little bit longer before you cancel, then do that. But one thing about, I mentioned in Relic Maze, when you're pushing against something, you can't boost. I'm tapping C, nothing's happening. Same thing with these mines. If you land too far, you'll push against them here, and while you're holding right and trying to boost, you won't actually get a boost. So the way to get around that, if you find you're going too far, is to back up and boost. Like, I don't know. Back up, then run forward with a boost. Because you want to roll through those mines with the charge up of your boost. It will set them all off, you will be invincible to them, and they'll clear the wall for you. And if you do it right, you can do a dive kick like I just did at the top and retain your speed through here. Then this bench in the background, you want to start holding left to stop yourself after you pass the bench. And that will put you on this orange spring. Now, this is why the Earth Shield is important in this stage, at least at this point. The Earth Shield is useful here. If you fall, just hop up on that little platform there and jump up to the dragon. It should be, like if you were able to fall through, the dragon should be coming when you jump over there. It costs a couple seconds, but it's a backup. And then, let's see. So, I have the Earth Shield now. Fall, do a little hop, drop, cyclone, roll boost, dive kick, turn around, and cyclone off that spring immediately. I may have canceled too early, but you see how all the crystals are attracting to me. Yeah, I did cancel too early. Let's try that again. This is the position where you want to boost. See the three roofs, the higher roofs in the background from the three-tiered pagodas? Lilac's feet should be about the level of those roofs when you boost. And that will put you right here at the end of the screen. You just do a quick jump dive. And as long as you've spawned this bulldozer, you're good. You just need to get about here to spawn the bulldozer, and then from that point on, like, as long as the bulldozer is already moving, everything's set in motion. And then the wrong warp. So this is an important trick. It saves, I want to say, about 10 seconds. It's been a while since I've looked at any kind of timing for this. If you try it and miss it, it costs you 30. So this is a very important trick to get good at. If you find you can't do it right away, then you're going to need a route for the first half of the next screen. I'll try to cover that briefly, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'll recommend it mostly as a backup for if you happen to miss this in a run. You do kind of need to know the terrain of the next stage, and I'll just go over it very, very quickly. So, if you happen to miss the wrong warp and you wind up in the first half of the next stage, next screen instead of the second half, then you would jump to the right and boost. You want to dive kick as soon as you land, well, shortly after you land. Like there's going to be a somewhat wide platform, and you're going to dive kick as far along that as possible. Like that. If you dive kick late enough, you can land directly on this blue spring, then use it to bounce up. If you want to preserve a hit on your Earth Shield, you can kick this first guy and wait for the second guy to stop doing his lightning. It doesn't take very long. But I would just tank the hit on the Earth Shield. You don't need it for much after this. Jump onto this platform, run off the edge, and then boost as soon as you're in the air, but under the lip of the roof here. So then, once you land, you want to go left, run into the spring. Do not jump here yet. Just run into the spring, then jump. And cyclone after you've hit the last red spring. Then drop onto this spring, boost to the right, dive kick. I'm going through all this really fast, but this is really just a backup. You need to learn the wrong warp. So then go through here, like that, and you would jump from this loop. So this is where the wrong warp takes you, right in here. So now let's go over that. This wrong warp is not too difficult, and it's very predictable. There used to be a harder setup for it, but then we found out that the bulldozer always opens up for the first time in exactly the right spot, so we no longer need to do any kind of real setup. It just does it for us. Ugh. Get up there. People are watching. I can't be bad. Okay. Little improv there. Top of the roof. Dive kick upon landing, and if you're slow, you'll just run into that chest and then have the dive kick anyway. Doesn't cost too much time. Okay, the bulldozer will start moving forward like it is now, and then turn around. Oh, hey! Welcome. So the bulldozer will turn around. Unfortunately, this is not a trick that can be done by Carol. This is only possible to have done with Lilac or Mila. The reason Lilac can do it is because her Dragon Boost can bounce off the top half of the bulldozer's remains when you've destroyed it. Mila just ignores the bulldozer entirely and triggers a super shield burst as she's crossing the screen transition. And you'd have to ask Flattervy about the timing for that. Anyway, for Lilac, the bulldozer is going to move backward, then forward a little bit and stop and open up. It will open up in the same way every time because of where you've spawned it. Like if you're coming in from the left, it will always spawn in the same way. It will always stop in exactly the same place for this first stop. As soon as it raises its scoop all the way up above itself, it will shoot a little yin-yang shot that will boomerang back at it. So I recommend waiting exactly where Lilac is here in front of the, see how there's two girders that look kind of golden, and then there's the background, the foreground bricks, and like there's a dark one right in front of Lilac, and then there's two more light ones, and then there's a bulldozer. The second brick along the ground is where you want to stand, which is where I am. You could stand a little closer. The trick to this, when the bulldozer shoots its little boomerang shot, it opens up a cap on that little, I don't know, emitter on the front of it. You'll see in a moment. The cap is what you want to hit. You don't want to hit the bulldozer's body, just the cap, because you want to close it, and then jump over the bullet on its return trip, and it will one-hit KO the bulldozer. I think you can also crouch under it. So kick the cap closed like that, duck or jump, and it kills the bulldozer instantly. Now it's going to bounce to the right, so the explosion will last for a little while. About halfway through all of its exploding, you can jump. And then the boost you want to do is at or slightly above the second level of the bricks. If you're any higher or lower than this, like she could be slightly lower than this. She could be level with the second row of bricks. But right now she's kind of between the second and third rows. This is as high as you can be, and even with the second row is about as low as you can be. If you're any higher or lower, you will miss the wrong warp. If you miss high, then if you miss either way, actually, you start on the second screen without the wrong warp, and you start at the beginning of the second screen, which is why I just showed you the backup strat. If you happen to boost early and you ricochet backwards and you don't get the wrong warp, just walk back to this position, or I don't know, it doesn't have to be this far away, but you want your meter to recharge fully. You just have to wait for another meter. I had to do this in the SGDQ race because I missed this wrong warp. I missed by boosting early, which is the best possible case. It means you can still get it, because then you have another chance. You just wait for meter to come back up, boost at this level again, and you're good. So I boosted the correct position. I should ricochet off the top half of the destroyed bulldozer and hit the the loading zone twice. Once when I hit the bulldozer, and a second time after landing on the ground. Lilac will be in a mode where she's auto-walking forward because she's hit the transition, and she'll hit the transition a second time. And there are conflicting theories on why this works. All we know for sure is that hitting the bulldozer in this way causes the wrong warp to happen. So now I'm in the second half. I'm in the second half of this next screen. And immediately you just start walking forward, jump to avoid the first part of the slope, because that would slow you down. Then at the top here, you want to jump up into the springs. If you need a cyclone to hit the springs, you can. You could also just dive kick here if you find hitting the springs is inconsistent for you. So hit the springs, turn right just as you're hitting this quarter pipe here, bounce off the springs on the ground, Now there's two things that can happen here. This second bulldozer, you can run off the roof of it, or you can clear it completely and land on the ground. If you run off the roof, you can jump again, or cyclone there and cancel, and you can boost from here. If you land, you have to jump again and then boost in the air. And you want to boost at your max jump height directly below the left side of the wall here. As long as you're boosting upright, though, you're fine. One thing about boosting upward, when you're about to pass through a ladder like this, if I hold up here, if I continue to hold up and right as the boost happens, I grab the ladder. This is a hazard. It means that if you're boosting toward a ladder like this with up held, you need to let go of up before you reach the ladder. As long as you've pressed up and right, though, once the boost launches, you can let go of them safely and it will continue. And you need to hold A through this and then do a dive kick at the top if you can. So jump, boost, let go, like that. And then you can jump and dive kick again. And then over here, as soon as you've reached the other side of the bridge on the flat terrain, do a jump. This will put you above the first step in these series of steps. You want to boost before you reach the second step. And then do a dive kick out of the top and you will reach the top step. If you jump and you wait too long to boost at the bottom, then you will get a roll. Yeah, let me see if I can do this again. I have to have a meter to do the boost, though. If you jump like this, and you boost late, you will get a roll and you will ricochet up left. So beware of that. You could also boost a little too far left. All that means is that you will fall short of the last step a little bit and have to do one last jump. So regardless of how you get through here, ideally you want to do that boost and then dive kick through the top so you can retain your speed. And then get out of this screen. A good time that for me leaving that screen is 1 minute flat. You should probably be shooting for about 115 to 120. The first screen or two is really the sticking point of this stage when you're starting to learn it. So then this screen is not as hard. There's a couple difficult tricks though. So run forward, jump. If you do a max height jump and then a boost holding A, you will clear this platform completely. I used to just jump from here, but that means you have to grab the ladder to get up, which is slightly slower. Flatterby figured out a strat. I haven't looked at it yet, but it involves a boost here, followed by a glide right there to get over to this side, and then spring cyclone up with such timing that you get around both corners. Like, kind of like that. Anyway, you get the idea. I have not worked on this yet. It's a new strategy. I'm going to restart this checkpoint. I haven't mentioned checkpoints yet, but there are two on the previous screen, at the beginning of the screen and in the middle of the screen, where you would spawn if you did the wrong warp. And then there's one at the beginning of this screen. Yes, I had not gone over that, but Flatterby found a ridiculous strategy, and that I'm not anywhere near capable of showing you because I haven't worked on it at all, and it is very difficult. Where instead of doing the boost up the previous set of stairs on the previous screen, you do a very rapid series of jump dives. So you get up one step at a time, or 2 steps or something. And you lose no speed, you get all the way to the top without using a boost. So, so this strategy right here, going to the right, is something that I won't be using for a while probably. So if you do boost there, you get up to the top here without hitting the wall or the ladder. Then you do a quick hop and then another jump, max height jump from this upslope. If you want, check out Flatterby's channel on YouTube. He has the strat on there somewhere. Okay, so you do a little hop followed by a big hop and a cyclone cancel to get up here. Then you do another hop about 2/3 of the way along this slope to get up to the top. Don't need a cyclone cancel for that, and you don't want to because you're going to boost as soon as you land. Then for these springs, you could just ride the springs left and then right with this laser ship chase. But if you just let go of the D-pad as soon as you run off this platform, the springs will bounce you backwards with the right momentum, and then you just jump as soon as you've turned around, like here. You just jump as soon as you land and boost down right through the laser. So that's really, really easy. And then, okay, good. Well, that won't be clickable from the VOD of this, but Flatterby just linked his strategy for the steps in the chat. So then here, going up this highway, there's no way to cyclone jump off of this. This is just like the corkscrews in Dragon Valley. This is scripted, so as soon as you make contact with this, you will start to run up it. There's no way to counter that. So you cannot cyclone jump off of this. There will be 3 little, see these arrows on the ground, on the highway here? The third one is where you let go of right. And then you start pressing it again as soon as you let go of the slope. And that keeps you from having to go all the way around this. So you go up the highway, 1, 2, 3, stop. Then jump and cyclone cancel. And then you jump from the seam between the bricks and this snake to get a max height jump, and then after you've passed the apex of your jump, so you come down a little bit, like this, you do a diagonal boost upright, followed by a dive kick at the top. And I'm supposed to hold A for that. So jump, boost, dive kick. If you do that correctly, you will land directly on this blue spring. This spring is probably the hardest part of this screen. If you miss it, if you miss early, you just jump like this. If you miss it late, you just jump back. But you want to hit that spring. If you can hit it straight out of the dive kick, that's awesome. That saves you a second. If you can't, don't worry about it, but I just showed you like a good setup for hitting that spring most of the time if you can get it consistently. So you want to cyclone off of this, and then dive kick at the top. So you come down this, then you want, after you leave this snake, you want to dive kick on the last, you want to jump dive on the last part of the flat, and then jump dive again. And then you see the diagonal row of crystals in the upper right that just showed up on screen. You want to line up about with those. You want to be slightly higher than them, but as long as you're about where they are, it's fine. If you're a little bit too high, you will clank this ceiling and bounce down here, which is totally fine, but it's not the fastest way. If you can, you want to thread the needle between the wall and this enemy here. And that's about where that is. It's slightly above that row of crystals is where you want to go, and then dive kick at the top. And you will land on the flat and not lose any speed, and you can continue forward to the mini-boss fight. If you happen to go through the enemy, just delay your dive kick a bit, otherwise you will dive kick onto the slope instead of the flat, because hitting the enemies will slow you down. Once you get here, here's an interesting thing that is not useful, but it's just a piece of trivia. Sometimes there are hitboxes that are on screen. Misanthrope, you would recognize this if you know the strategy for Carol and Trap Hideout. Carol exploits this for the Spade fight. Spade has a similar function to Serpentine here. If I do a high uppercut, you just heard me hitting Serpentine's hitbox before he comes on screen. He's just kind of stored up there. If I do this enough, then when he comes on screen, I didn't do it enough, but if you do it enough, you don't actually have to fight him here. You can just tap him once, and he goes straight to his ship. So let's talk about how to actually fight this fight. There's a few strategies, but I'll go over the easiest and the fastest one. And it's really hard to do perfectly. Perfectly means getting 2 boosts, then a few kicks, and he's dead. Okay? But regardless, when you start the fight, when you reach these double doors, the yellow double doors on the right there, when you reach the seam and down the middle of them is when Serpentine comes on screen. You want to turn left, kick him, then as he passes you, go right and kick him again. Like that. Then he's going to run left. You want to race him to the left side, jump, and boost about at the level of that street lamp, or slightly below it. You will catch Serpentine as he passes you and boost through him into the laser. He will also take damage from the laser and as he passes you back. Then as he comes at you again, do the same thing. I recommend being just below where the street lamp was. If you boost too early, you get that effect. He just bounces to the right and you have to try again. So let me show you, hopefully, what a good fight of this looks like, and then how to get it. That was nowhere near good. You see how when he went for the flamethrower, I had boosted just a bit late, so he'd already passed me. When you want to boost is when he is just about all the way through Lilac, but not quite, so that his sprite overlaps the left side of Lilac's sprite, so that you knock him to the left. Like that. That is a very good way. That was a very good hit there. If you are fortunate enough to have the first 2 boosts take down all of his HP except for the very last little bit, then when he runs to the left here, you want to wait for him to stop completely. If you hit him while he's moving, he will bounce into the laser and he'll have to reset his position again. But if you wait for him to stop, then kick him twice, then he's dead. And that's an ideal Serpentine fight. You're gonna have to go through the stage again. Actually, this is a good time to switch to the file with 98 lives on it and work with that so I can restart infinitely, or as many times as I need to. So jump over the roof, do a dive kick, bounce up, cyclone, dive onto the slope, jump over the black sky, cyclone, jump up, boost over the top, dive kick, try to get a cyclone at the bottom there, and this is what this strategy looks like since I got it. And that was very, very, very fast. See how I'm 19.5 seconds well past the stop sign. This is almost as fast as you can do the first half of this screen. If you hit the blue spring, like I just did, just bounce up against the wall, don't do any cyclone, and just fall back onto the orange spring. In front of the second brick. Got the wrong warp. Jump into the springs. Go neutral, jump and boost. Stop after the third arrow. Jump, boost, and dive kick. Oops. Okay, I should show this. One really good visual cue for where this spring is this lamppost. If you can get a good sense for how those two how far apart those two things are. Then if you're like if you're boosting higher, like if you were to go like this, then you could tell, you could land directly on the blue spring that way just by judging where it is relative to that street lamp. But if you just do the setup I described, you can get it a little faster and I think more reliably. Also, if you get to this point with the route that I've described, you probably still have the Earth Shield at this point, which is totally fine. It's also very much okay for you to lose it here. You do not need the Earth Shield after this for anything fancy. As a matter of fact, I'll describe a specific way the Earth Shield can get in your way on the next screen. It's very uncommon for that to happen, though. Like, it's so rare that for a while I thought it was a potential strategy, but it's so hard to do that it just ends up being something you stumble upon once in a while that gets in your way of a good attempt. Kick, boost into the street lamp, boost into the street lamp. I was a little bit late there, so just kick. That's the thing you do. If you miss early or late on the boost, and he is either to the right and bounces right, or to the left and you miss him entirely, then the proper response is to go to kicks. Wait for him to stop and kick him. You will not have another chance to boost. His reaction is too fast for that. And if he goes into bullet rain, you want to hide just outside of the range where bullet rain hits your shield or you. Like right here. Notice, okay, this is the first time we fought Serpentine, and I should explain some of his abilities since you might end up facing them. He has 3 attacks. He has a basic shot where he shoots 3 blue lasers in a row. This has a minimum range. You see how I'm standing right in front of his gun, and he can't hit me. So the proper response for this attack is just to get in his face, where he can't hurt you. Just run up and stay next to him. The second attack is the flamethrower. He cannot do this on his first move. If you were to fight him just with kicks, just going back and forth with kicks, I think he would do that his 3rd attack after you've killed the first 2 of his main HP. And the flamethrower has a very dominant hitbox. If he's facing you with it, you will get hit before you can hit him. You can hit him kind of under it sometimes. The idea is to get behind him mostly. But if you have to take a hit to hit him while he's in the flamethrower, do so. I mean, if you trade a hit, that's fine. You want to get him out of the flamethrower as soon as possible. It takes a while for it to terminate naturally. The bullet rain makes him completely invincible. There's nothing you can do during that. You'd have to wait for him to take it down. Ideally, you won't get that at all with the ideal strategy for this fight, but you're gonna get it eventually. Like you're gonna face the bullet rain. When he does the bullet rain, let's see if I can get him to do it. There's the flamethrower, so I got behind him. Alright, let me get the bullet rain so I can show you what to do. Now he goes to flamethrower. There's the bullet rain. Okay, I'm going to get close to him, but not close enough to get hit by his shield. About here, maybe slightly closer. This is about where you want to be, though. As soon as the shield stops, move right and kick so that you move out of the way of the bullets. If you're fast enough, you can get under the bullet rain before it lands and hit him as his shield is disappearing. It is possible if you're kicking him, like he runs back and forth. After you've hit him, or if he's just finished an attack, he will dash past you and start another attack from the other side. If you hit him as he's passing you and he goes for a bullet rain, sometimes he will just stop it. He will stop it early. He will look like he's starting to put up the shield and he will cancel it. I'm not going to show you what that looks like because you shouldn't have to face it in this fight. It will be more important in the Jade Creek Serpentine fight. But it is possible to cancel his bullet rain early if you do it right. I don't know the particulars of it. There is no consistent way that we know to set that up with the damage, but essentially you're just kicking him as he passes you, and sometimes he stops. And those are his 3 attacks, how to respond to them. You do not want to be above him, obviously, when he does bullet rain, or he will juggle you into the air. So Thankfully, he cannot juggle you from the ground. Even if you run over him, I don't think he can juggle you. No, as a matter of fact, I think you can crouch under his shield and be fine. Yep. So you can crouch under his shield and be fine, and he can't juggle you from the ground. So the idea here, if you're just going for safety, you're not going for speed, but just safety, is never leave the ground. Never. Not even to hit him when he's jumping with the flamethrower. Just stay on the ground. He cannot juggle you with the bullet rain. Alright, let's try to get another good fight, and then I'll move on. That's about all there is to say about Serpentine. It really is, trying to get a perfect fight is just trying to get enough damage out of those first two boosts. If you can do that, you will get a perfect fight, because then the kicks will result in a kill. But the thing with the difficulty of the fight is really just because the boosts, it's so hard and so inconsistent to get enough damage out of those boosts to spend as much time as possible in your boost hitting him, to get the right collision with him. Oh, thank you for the host, Wu Ching Long. So, kick, boost, a good boost, so I'm going to kick here, and I got him. That was a perfect fight. Okay, now here there's nothing you can do. And a word about how to end this fight. You will need to, after this short cutscene terminates, you will need a boost from a standstill. And you want your meter to be full as soon as the cutscene ends. Now your meter will not charge during the scene, and you've been using boosts. So, if possible, you want the last thing you do to him to be kicks, so that your meter will be full when he jumps into his ship. Another way to get a full meter here is by finishing the fight with a boost, but in such a way that he ricochets pretty far to the right. Because the trigger for the cutscene to start is him starting to run to his ship. And that's when the charge-up noise... Enough of your kung fu tricks. Prepare. Hear that charge-up noise. That happens pretty much as soon as he enters his ship. I think his ship might even start moving before he gets into it. I'm not sure. Anyway, what it seems to me is that if you ricochet him over to the right, you don't actually lose any in-game time. But the time that he spends running to his ship, your meter is still able to recharge. Anyway, here you just gotta watch the cutscene, and then hold C as the cutscene ends. Do not move right at all. Just hold C, and once the boost windup starts, then start hitting right. And I got a boost immediately because I had a full meter, and I'm moving to the right from a standstill. The standstill is important. See how there's a bunch of crystals here? But the boost already terminated before I started picking them up. So they're filling my meter instead of being consumed immediately by the boost that I did. If you were to run right out of that cutscene and then start boosting, like if you were holding right and boost and you did a roll to the right, your boost would continue through the crystals and consume them all, and you would end up with an empty meter starting the next screen. If you do it from a standstill, then when you start the next screen, you have a full meter. So that's the difference between having a meter and no meter at all at this exact point, is whether you do a standstill or hold forward while you boost. And that allows you to do a boost here. You want to do it behind the right side of that second tree that's behind the escalator. And you can contact the escalator here, it doesn't really matter. You just want to boost up and right here. And I didn't hold A, but you would land at the top here and then jump to this zip line. These zip lines are your nemesis in the second half. These are the hardest part. So there's not really anything I can... there's not really a whole lot of help I can give you with these. You're just going to have to feel out the timing for it. I can give you the proper angles, but you'll have to figure out the muscle memory to get those angles based on the timing of pressing A here. See there? And that was because I was coming out of a pause and I didn't have really my cue. So here's see. That's about a good angle, and you want, as you finish this launch, you want to do a quick cyclone cancel, and then boost right. Now, this is a very important spot. This is the combination of moves I call the waterfall dive, or the fountain dive rather. The fountain dive is everything from this landing, which you should land on this top step. If you did a poor zipline launch or something, then you'll land here and stop dead. If that happens, you do have a meter, and you can just jump up and boost to the right. Now the next step here is the actual fountain dive. There's a set of springs right after a bridge here. These springs, you don't want to hit them. That's very, very bad. You want to jump dive before them. And if you jump dive late enough, but before hitting the springs, you will land on top of the fountain. Hence the name. As soon as you run off the fountain, you will land on a lower platform, and then there will be a gap before a pipe. If you dive kick as you're crossing that gap, it will freeze your inertia, which will guarantee you cross the gap like this. See how I did a dive kick over that gap? You're moving fast enough that the dive kick windup lasts for the entire gap, but keeps you from descending. So that's the fountain dive trick to that point. You can also get a lower arc like that. Like mostly the thing that you don't want to do with that first zipline is go down or backward. As long as you get a forward, upward arc, you should be fine. And a lower arc is actually faster if you can do it. But I think like just trying to hit the general ballpark of getting up and forward arcs without worrying about the angle of them is probably best at first. There are a whole bunch of crystals in the air, so if you do get a pretty high launch from that zip line, you can line yourself up with a line of those crystals. Here, I'll show you. If you line yourself up with a row of these crystals, you can eat up a whole bunch of crystals with the boost, which will extend your boost length. So then you do the dive kick and the dive kick over the gap, or the jump dive and the dive kick over the gap. Now we come to one of the coolest tricks. This is called a dive glide, okay? A dive glide is a jump dive with a cyclone glide following it. So what you want to do is get a jump dive, so you jump and do a dive kick immediately. And then the jump dive kind of keeps you in the air, like it extends your jump without, you don't get any air drag with it. The jump dive is just to cancel the air drag. Then when the dive kick fires, immediately you go into a downward cyclone, which does not give you any height. All it does is reset your falling speed. And as soon as the cyclone happens, you steer it upward, which gives you a long glide that's very level. So it looks like this, if I can do it right. No, I contacted the ground there. I'll just restart, it'll be easier. That's what a dive glide looks like. It's a jump dive followed by a down air cyclone steered upward. So you're holding down and forward, you press A then B, rapid succession to get the jump dive. Then in the air, after the dive kick has happened, you do B up in that order, while still holding forward. So holding down and forward, A B, holding down and forward, you do A B, and then as soon as the dive kick windup has finished, you do B up, or you do A up rather. So forward, A B, and then A up. You can also do A B again to get a downward cyclone followed by a second dive kick. That's called a double dive. And that will just extend a dive glide. It looks like this. Fountain was in my way. That's what a double dive looks like, and that just extends a jump dive. And a double dive will be important later. So just a dive glide here. And the reason I got an upward cycle in there is because I pressed up before the jump input. So that's a very common mistake with dive glides. If the dive glide is a little too advanced for you at the start, like there are easier places to want to do it than here. You're trying to get a dive kick straight out of this pipe without going forward at all, and then you're trying to get the air cyclone to avoid contacting the top of the next loop. So this is actually kind of a tight spot to do this. What you can do at first, if you don't want to try to do a dive glide, is when you're running through here after the dive kick, just do a quick jump followed by a boost over this valley between the loop and the downslope. And you do not want to do this low enough to contact the loop itself, otherwise you will get sucked into it and you will run around the bottom. So you want to do it above this significantly, and that will put you over here. Just like the dive glide saves about a second because when you do a boost in the air, the wind-up takes a little while and it freezes you in place. So that's why the dive glide saves time, is because that it does not have the freeze associated with doing another dragon boost. So what that strat would look like, starting from the beginning and having proper speed, roughly like that. And then you want to skid to a halt, like just after this vacuum cleaner spike thing, so that you can stop in time for the ladder. And that's based on feel. It's probably halfway between the ladder and those shop windows. And then drop the ladder immediately, start moving right. And then do a jump, cyclone cancel over this guy. You can run through him if you have enough speed. But I like to just do a jump cyclone cancel over him, because he can do that sonic wave attack before you get all the way through him, and it will hit you. So the jump cyclone cancel will take you onto this slope. When you're about a quarter of the way up it, you can just jump and cyclone cancel to the left. You're not wrong, Misanthrope. That was a thing we considered. And we considered it because the men's room does this. It puts you to spring speed forward. Unfortunately, it's offset by the fact that you actually have to spend a moment in the men's room. So that doesn't save time. I think it breaks even. But you could totally do the men's room if you wanted to. It would be completely different. Anyway, so you jump, cyclone cancel, jump, cyclone cancel backward, and you're up here, you get the zip line. Same deal here, you want to get a decent amount of forward or upward velocity, and then if you can, line yourself with some crystals. And you want to reach the ledge with the piano. If you fall short of this ledge, just grab the balloon. And the boost in the air will put you off the screen with enough speed. Now this flipping platform up here, this thing with the springs on it, should be, if you've gotten to this point with good speed, at the right cycle for you when you arrive. But if you're slow, then it will be at a different cycle. So this is just, you need to judge it based on where it is. Right now it's flipped upwards, so by the time I reach it, it will be flipped downward. There wasn't a chance for me to hit those springs, really. I might have barely been able to hit them. But now you just wait for it. Like that, and you want to reach at least... You want to reach at least this ledge. Do not fall below this ledge. If you can't grab the ladder consistently, just get to this ledge and then jump from here. But you can reach the ladder. You can reach this ladder from the springs. and that's the ideal. If you cannot reach that ladder consistently, just reach the ledge where that sound wave enemy is, and then jump to the ladder from there. Do a couple ladder jumps. Then you can't just boost from a standstill here because that platform on the right is slightly higher and you will bonk. So you need to do a small jump followed by a boost to get over it. And then do a jump dive before the slope starts downward. And you might run over this fountain, it's not really a big deal. Then you want to do a cyclone as soon as you hit this red spring, and when you're off the top of the screen, do a dive kick. And the timing for that is based on feel. Like you want to do the dive kick kind of at the top of your arc, but you can't really see where that is, so it's got to be kind of feel. If you did it fast enough, you'll go through this little spinny elevator thing with plenty of speed. And then as soon as you get out the other side, you want to jump and boost. I would say around the middle of these large, like merry-go-round things with the dragons on them, and boost up left. I'm not going to go up there yet because I want to reinforce this boost position. These things turning around, you want to boost along the middle bar somewhere, somewhere in the middle. Like dead center is fine. You can be a little bit left of that, but I would go dead center for now. Then at the top, you want to dive kick while holding A, and which puts you on the bridge. And then from like the first level railing of the bridge, which would be the third post of the bridge in the foreground, is where you want to jump so you can do a dive kick. It's just a short hop followed by a dive kick. A little bit later than that. Something like that. You want to hit the leading edge of the bridge with a dive kick, because landing on that upslope with the end of your boost killed your speed a little bit. So you can get a little extra speed from this downslope if you want. Not that crucial. Then you want to jump over this elevator and dive kick down. It's just, I have never timed this versus riding the elevator. I assume they're about the same, especially if you're going fast here. But the elevator doesn't give you a whole lot of time to react before it spits you into the next elevator here. And you want to go over this elevator. Otherwise, you'll have to go around some backtracky areas down below. So you want to jump over this elevator and then jump from the top of this next escalator onto the next zip line. This zip line, you want to go straight vertical as possible. You don't want to go backward at all. If you do go backward slightly, you can correct it with a cyclone cancel. If you go forward too much, you can correct it with a cyclone cancel backward. But you want to be about vertical here, so that you're before the edge of this new spinning merry-go-round thing, and then boost straight forward. So you could be a little further back, but you don't want to be much further forward, or you won't have time, or you might even overshoot this platform. If you overshoot this platform, you have to take the balloon. Coming up is what we call the balloon skip. So you want to dive kick from this platform past the halfway point, and then as you land on this next platform, do an uppercut near the very edge, followed by a cyclone as soon as possible. And that will take feel to get that cyclone down. If you don't make that, you have to ride this balloon, hence the name balloon skip. So to go over that again, this is a difficult trick. Don't expect to get this one when you're first starting out. It'll take practice to get this. Vertical as possible. Corrected it with a cyclone forward. Barely got that. So that's kind of a tight trick to get. It only saves a few seconds, so the balloon is definitely a pretty reliable alternative. Really only worry about this once you get to where you're comfortable with the rest of the stage. This is one of the harder tricks in the stage. So then you drop down here, and there's a samurai helmet enemy coming down on top of you. You can jump in the air and do 2 kicks. I only did 1, that's fine. Jump into, so that you're about halfway up, like where the gold part of his helmet starts. And boost left. I'll try that again. So So jump, kick twice, and then boost halfway up his head so that you follow him left. And that should take him out completely. I cannot get 2 kicks right now for some reason. But that's the idea. Like, if you miss this guy, you just want to find him when he's about to cross the arena again and then try another boost. You can just beat him with kicks if you have to, but that's kind of a big time loss. So then from here, we're just about to enter the boss. We're already almost to the end of the stage. Because one more little trick here. Your meter is going to fill up gradually, and it will be full just about when you need it to. As the door opens, you want to run forward and jump next to the fountain and boost upright and dive kick out of the boost. And you can boost as soon as you leave the ground if you have the meter for it. But wherever you boost, you needs to be at a position where you can get into this upper hallway, and that fountain is a pretty good judge of where you need to be. So then you run right. There's a little bit of health you can pick up if you need to. If you need to pick up that health, I would do jump dives. Now we're at Robopanther. Robopanther is almost as hard as Mantolith. Robopanther is nowhere near easy. The bosses in this game truly are the difficulty of the game when you start speedrunning it. This guy, okay, you saw Lilac dragon boosted in that scene. That drained her meter completely. You will never, ever start this fight with any meter at all. So you will not be able to use a boost at the start. He has 5 phases. In each phase, you have to knock his head cover open, and then the red crystal inside will take any hit at all. Cyclone, a kick, a boost, anything that you can do to hit that red crystal counts. And you have to hit that red crystal in the first 4 phases once, and then in the 5th phase you have to just completely destroy the head cover and hit the red crystal 3 more times. So the red crystal takes a total of 7 hits, but there are only 5 phases to the fight. The trouble is that he moves around based on your position, and his attacks, the pattern, is rather troublesome. He alternates between some basic shots and a special attack. So when he first starts out, he can do 2 or 3, sometimes 4, but that's very rare. I have never seen 4. It might be just how I move. A lot of the boss manipulation in this game seems to be based on how you move. Like the boss is basing his actions on how you are moving. But Malexi says that he has had 4 volleys of these basic shots. You'll see the basic shots in a moment here. These basic shots, he will do 2 to 3 usually. You can just expect to see 2 to 3 of these volleys. And then he will do a special attack, and then he will do 2 to 3, and then he'll do a special attack. Sometimes he'll move from special attack to special attack. I'll explain that in a moment. He has a few different special attacks. One is a laser sweep along the ground. Another is a bullet rain from standing in the center of the screen. He can also do a volley of rockets. And then the worst one is standing upright. He can only stand upright if he can only go upright immediately after a laser sweep if his core has taken at least 3 hits. And therein lies the secret to manipulating this guy for an easy fast kill, not the most optimal kill, but an easy one. So the basic pattern to attack this guy is jump and kick as you go up, kick again when you're at the top of the jump, cyclone, and get 3 more kicks on the way down, like this. Here, let me try to get a good one. Yeah, it's not easy. We're going to spend a while on this guy. Okay, so when the fight starts out, he's going to do 2 or 3 volleys of basic machine gun shots. So run to the right side of the screen, wait for him to overlap that red boat in the background. So he comes to about middle of the screen. Then start running toward him and jump and kick on the way up and kick again. All right, there's the first phase. I've opened him up. This is one of the two things that can happen in the first phase. I have been slightly too slow to get the good pattern. This is a perfectly acceptable pattern, but the first two things he can do. If you manage to hit his core before he goes for a special, he'll go for the laser sweep. If you didn't manage to hit his core, he will go for the bullet rain in the center of the screen, which is what he's about to do. He's moving to the center. He's going to do a bullet rain. I can hit his core here. Wait till he stops flashing, and then do a quick jump, kick, kick, cyclone, kick, kick, kick. Getting the third kick on the way down requires that you get the first kick kind of on the way up, just as you're jumping. So anyway, there's the first phase, and the crucial point, the tipping point for this boss is when you beat the third phase. When he takes his third hit to the core, what attack is he doing? If I were to continue as I am now, I would finish the third hit probably about when he finishes his laser sweep, and then he would go upright. But there's a trick to this. Let me start over and get a very good kill using this strategy. This is what I would call the new player strategy, but it's also what I end up doing most of the time, as it's really hard to get the expert strategy. So run to the right, wait for him to cross the boat. Okay, now he's going for the laser sweep, or the bullet rain rather. Oh, okay. So the second set of machine gun shots, he decided not to go for the special after two. He's going to do a third machine gun shot now. Now he goes for the laser sweep. I've already opened the core. Unfortunately, Carol interfered here. Carol can interfere here if on the second set of machine gun shots you got 3 volleys. If he goes for 3, I would recommend not opening his head cover right away. Let Carol do it for you. Or at least let Carol put some damage on the head rather than putting some damage on the core. Because now, as you'll see, he has taken 3 hits to the core. Once this laser sweep ends, now he's going upright. This is the hardest phase to damage him in. It takes a long time to open his head usually. What you want to do during this kind of phase is get him, go all the way over to the right so he comes toward you, jump, cyclone as high as possible, and try to kick him twice. That's what you want to do right there. Regardless, though, this phase is a waste of time because you can't hit him as fast as you can in other phases, in other special attacks. So we want to try to avoid that. Here's how you do that. A little luck doesn't hurt. I'm going to restart it because I got 3 shots in the first. I want him to get 2 to just demonstrate this strategy. Okay, he went for the bullet rain, so I'm going to try to hit him again. Good. Now that my meter is full, I can stand center of screen, roughly below or a little bit to the right of my crystal counter at the top. So I'm going to stand about here and jump to max height and boost to straight left. Which you could be a little bit left of there too. You just mostly want to stay at the left side of the screen, still boosting while he's moving through you, and that will manipulate that to happen. Then as he's going for the laser sweep, try to open his head cover before Carol gets there. There it is. Now let his laser sweep end. Stay in the center of the screen and hit it as soon as you hear him start the rocket. The next move he's going to do is the rocket barrage. So hit his core when this starts, like this, so that he goes for the rocket launcher. Go to the left side of the screen, wait for a moment, just like a fraction of a second, jump all the way out to the right and boost straight left, like this. If you do that correctly, like I just did, you will open his core with one boost by itself. Then you can jump and kick the core. Now he only has one phase left, so we're going to try to drag him as far as possible to the right. He's going to get a laser sweep after this. His next thing he'll do after the rocket phase is, first he'll do some machine gun shots like he's doing now, then he'll go back to laser sweep. But we're good, because if he's upright, him going upright like this does not matter if I'm in the last phase with his head cover broken, because he has invincibility frames after each hit anyway, so I just have to get back to the ground and keep jumping back up. Now, because I completed the stage in a clear file, I would have lost the lives on that file, so I just hit F2 to restart the program. Because this is one of the bosses you cannot pause after the final hit and start over on. Yeah, you can also ask them on the SDA thread. We're going to implement a way soon for you to ask questions directly through the Leaderboard submission forms. But yeah, PMs are always something I'm willing to take. Unfortunately, I do have to get back to the boss to describe everything I didn't have a chance to now. I should not have killed him. Flat there, that's pretty good. Well, I will be recapping at the very end, so this is kind of redundant. A little bit low on that, or a little bit high on that boost.
I've had enough of your kung fu tricks. Prepare for
Pretty mediocre serpentine fight. My voice is also getting pretty dry from continually talking. I'm not much of a talker in my everyday life, so my voice is not used to this kind of strain. That might fall short. Yep, it fell short. I guess you don't have meter here for another boost. You have to wait for this to recharge, because you need the speed to cross this area. That was a pretty weak dive glide, but it still got the moves in the proper order. I didn't mention how the Earth Shield can interfere here. It's in the first screen, and it's inside the mall. When you reach the very first zip line and you toss yourself off of it, if you have an Earth Shield, there is a very slim chance that you will trail a set of crystals behind you when you do the boost in the air, and that those crystals will just manage to reach you before your meter depletes to 0. The result of this is a boost that lasts about 3 times as long as normal and continually consumes crystals as it collects them, and travels almost half the width of the first screen. It's really impressive to see, but unfortunately, because it's so extremely hard to get, we have no consistent setup for it. There's just, we don't know how to even approach a setup for that, because you're trying to get it in the air with all kinds of different forces interacting with your movement, and different timings for cancel and all this other stuff. So it's not practical to do consistently as far as we know right now. So we don't know how to react when it does happen. We haven't had any experience with it. It's happened to me. I've been running this game for 6 months. That boost has happened to me maybe a maximum of 10 times, which is not enough time to develop a strategy around it. So even if it does happen, I have no idea how to react. And I'm just going to wind up somewhere in the stage. I don't know where I am, and I have to just figure out how to proceed from there on improv. Thankfully, it gives you a lot of forward distance. So it does make up for the fact a little bit. It doesn't completely make up for it. You still lose time. But it kind of makes up for the fact that you're kind of disoriented after it happens. So that's a hazard. If you come into the second half of the stage with the Earth Shield, that is just something that might happen to you once in a great while. Hopefully it won't be on a good attempt. And as you can imagine, the first time that happened, I was very, very shocked. I was like, I don't know what exactly... Thankfully, I was streaming. I think I caught it on stream. I don't actually have any video to show you because I didn't highlight it, and I haven't had any chance to highlight it since then. And I really should have highlighted it, but I didn't. And so, like, it was a lightning in a bottle. I'd have to do attempts for a while with my camera running, like my capture running, just to get a chance at capturing it on video. But the first time I did it by accident, my jaw dropped. I was just like, I didn't have any idea you could fly that far. How did I get a boost that long? And I didn't know before then that the crystals that you gained while boosting would extend the length of your boost. That was the first time I found out that that was a thing. Okay, so back to the boss. So to boil down the new player / average kill strategy, Alexi's better than me at getting the advanced strategy, which requires you hitting his core before he finishes the machine gun shot, so that he goes into laser sweep instead of bullet rain, which gives you a lot more time to get a lot more hits on him before he goes to his next laser sweep, allowing you to never stop hitting him and still never get an upright phase until his head cover is completely destroyed. But the idea here is to go to the right side, jump left, kick, kick, kick till you open his head cover, hit the core, then he'll go to the center of the screen for a bullet rain, keep hitting him, hit the core again before he goes for his laser sweep. Try to get a boost as he's going for his laser sweep so that you almost open the core again. If he does 3 shots on the second machine gun shot set, then hold off a bit on opening his head cover until Carol is gone, because she will show up. And then you want to get the third core hit in the third phase. You want to get that as he's just starting his rocket launcher phase. And that is strict. He has to actually have started the animation, and he'll do a little yell or something as he's starting it. He'll say something. I forget what he says, though. If you do it at all before that, he will immediately go to his upright phase. So you have to actually wait until you see it happen. You can't try to set yourself up so that it happens. You get the kick just as he starts it. And then after that, do the tag the left side momentarily, jump right, and boost left. So here. Okay. Bullet rain. He did 3 machine gun shots that time, so now Carol is already here, so I don't want to open the head cover just yet. Now she's gone, I can open the head cover. Now wait for the rockets to happen. Go to the left side, tag the left side momentarily, jump right and boost left. Open his head cover, kick him again. He can go off the left side completely. Like, he can go far enough off the left side that jumping against the left side and kicking won't reach his hitbox. So you do need to come out a little bit to get a kick on him here. And now you just need to pull him out right, get a bunch of kicks. Now he's open, and he's about to go upright, but it doesn't matter, I've got him. And now, since I got 2 hits, I'm not going to get the 3rd hit because that would end the stage again. I'm just going to restart from here. There's not a whole lot more to say about this boss. If you have questions, leave them in the comments on the YouTube video that this will be posted on. Okay, there, I got the faster phase. Now he's going to go for laser sweep. I want to pull him out enough by going to the center. Excuse me, the center of the screen so I can boost left through him as before. Now I've got 2 hits before he goes for his bullet rain. I could be faster here. I could have got the 2nd hit in while he was doing his laser sweep, which would give me more time. I've wasted a bit of time here, so I'm probably going to get an upright phase at the very end of the fight. But let's keep going. This is going to be phase number 3. Yeah, if he goes upright, okay, here's what you can do while he goes upright. If his invincibility frames have ended, if he stopped flashing, you can jump to about where that bolt on the side of, let's see, about where the cannon, the base of the cannon coming out of his jaw is. See how there's where his the Robo Panther's eyes look like, and then there's the lower jaw yellow section where the resume, on the right side of the resume text, and then covered over by restart and Lilac sprite there's a cannon that he shoots his machine gun shots out of. The pivot for that cannon, the base of it that's behind his jaw, you want to boost kind of on top of that up to the right as he's going upright, like kind of like this. Let me get it so that I don't have to go out of a pause. Okay, right here I'm going to jump and boost upright from the base of that cannon, the little bolt that's at the hub of that cannon. I boosted a little too far left, but if you boost on top of that directly, then you can follow his movement as he goes upright. The boost will follow through his head, and you'll probably, if you do it correctly, open his head cover right then and there. Let's see if I can do this without a pause so that I can do it correctly. This is another boss fight that you can get back into very quickly after a restart, so this is an easy boss. An easy boss to be able to practice from the checkpoint. Wow, I actually got much faster kill than I thought I would. That was the correct boost lineup. That would have followed through his head if his head cover had still been intact. And if you get his head cover to open up completely, it is possible, however difficult, to get a dive kick at the end of it and connect with the core on the way down, like I just did. But to get that with the head cover destruction on the way up is pretty tricky. So this is pretty much all the strats there are for this boss. The bullet rain, you want to stand directly under the middle of him because there's a hole in his pattern there. Definitely don't jump up to where he is completely, although that's pretty forgiving. You can jump up pretty high and still not hit his juggle lasers, the bullet rain shots that are going up out of him. The laser sweep, you saw how I was kind of dancing from, like if I was starting from the left, I was jumping up and kicking through him and then cycloning back over and coming back down on the left. That's what you want to do. You don't want to cross over. You want to jump through him and then cyclone and turn around and come back. And if you're safe, let's see here. Go for the laser sweep so I can show. There we go. Okay, so the laser sweep is going to start on the left, and I'm going to start on the right in safe area. And as it comes toward me, I'm going to jump up, cyclone through, like kick a few times, cyclone back to the right, kick a few more times, and land on the right again. Like that. That's how you want to be safe on this boss. Stick to one side and cyclone so you can turn around in the air and go back there. The rockets, just try to stay off the ground. They can't hurt you if you're not on the ground. Those little explosion trails can hurt you, but if you're doing the strategy properly, you should be boosting during that rocket phase anyway, so not really that much of an issue. The very start of the fight, as you may have noticed, the shots are a bit of a problem. The machine gun shots at the very start of this fight here, it's very difficult to avoid getting hit by them as you go for the first series of kicks. See, I got hit there on the way down. If you happen to have the Earth Shield all the way to the end of the stage, which frankly is not that difficult to do as long as you can keep it through Serpentine, the rest of the stage isn't terribly threatening. There's just a few sound wave cannons that could possibly get a hit in. But apart from that, as long as you keep it past Serpentine, it's not that hard to keep the shield to the end of the stage. And then the shield will allow you to eat the hit from this machine gun at the start of this fight. So that's another thing that you can do that's really good once you're good enough at the stage. That happens to me fairly often. Like I keep the shield to the end of the stage a lot when I'm doing attempts. So I guess now I'll just do a quick run through the stage, recap everything. Unfortunately, this stage does not have a whole lot of easy, safe options for movement. There just isn't a good compromise for some of the difficult strats. The zip lines, you just have to contend with them from the start of the stage. From the start of your learning, the zip lines are going to be a problem. Serpentine is going to be a problem. There's no easy way to tackle him. The last boss, there is kind of an easy way to manipulate him as long as you can do the jump kicks and cyclone and kicks that you're supposed to, bread and butter of fighting him, where you do the kick, kick, cyclone, kick, kick, kick. That important pattern, as long as you have that, the easy strat that I've described is not that difficult to manipulate. But like the everything in the first 20 seconds of the stage, there's no real compromise for that. There is a slightly easier route, but you still have to contend with the dragon balloons, and you still have to get to the stop sign, and then you have to get the wrong warp. If you don't get the wrong warp, then you have to do the strat for the second screen, which is frankly not one we've got a whole lot of experience on these days, because it is such a rare backup to have to use. You only really use that in races. If you miss the wrong warp in a real full run attempt, for us, it just means a reset at that point. Because if you try the wrong warp and fail, like I said, it's just 30 seconds straight down the gutter. So this is a stage that you really cannot... It's really fun, and there's a lot of cool tricks, and it doesn't take that long to learn the route, but there are a lot of brutal tricks in it. I would say this stage is slightly easier than Relic Maze, but it has a different kind of challenge, and there's no backups for any of the hard tricks. So here, do a dive kick down the chute, turn left a little bit, cyclone jump up here, boost over the top, dive kick, doing a cyclone glide, kind of missed it. Stop sign at 19, that's pretty good. Stop sign at 21 is a pretty good thing to shoot for early on when you're first starting to learn the stage. So roll boost, dive kick, turn around after the bench, turned around a little too early, boost above the roofs, dive kick as soon as you land, stop on the second brick, jump over the bullet, kick the thing on the way down, jump over the bullet again, or crouch, boost at the middle of the second brick or on the crack above the second brick, between the second and the third bricks, boost to the right about halfway through the explosions, get the wrong warp, start moving left, jump up the slope, jump into the springs, let go of, make sure that you let go of upright after that boost has fired so you don't grab the ladder, jump dive onto this slope, jump, jump, boost. You can hit the ceiling there with that boost, by the way, but it's not something that's difficult to avoid. Go neutral, bounce backward, jump boost. 1, 2, 3 arrows, let go, jump, cyclone cancel, jump just over the apex, dive kick out, get the spring, dive kick onto this thing, do 2 quick jump dives, followed by a boost. I was a little bit early, so I hit the ceiling there, that's fine. Took a hit to my shield, also fine. I don't really need the shield, although it is nice to have for the boss. Serpentine's probably going to take my shield if I make any mistakes. So turn around at the door, kick backward, kick forward. Boost on the lantern, boost just below the lantern. I missed him, so I have to kick. Boost on the lantern again. Okay, now I used a boost last and he didn't bounce right. So I'm not going to have a full meter, which means when this cutscene ends, I'm going to have to wait. Just hold C in this situation and wait for the boost to start, then hold right. So when I get through the cutscene here, just start holding C during the cutscene and hold down the entire time. Then when Lilac has started the boost, hold right. First half, or second half. Boost behind the tree, jump to the zip line, get a forward arc. Fountain dive sequence. Ah. That's a lot easier than I made it look, by the way. Second zip line. Okay, this is on a good cycle, so I can bounce off it immediately. Grab the ladder, jump and boost, jump dive, bounce off this spring, dive kick off screen, jump to the middle of this merry-go-round, try to get a dive. I missed the dive kick there, a little bit early. Get a vertical jump here, boost at the top, dive kick, uppercut at the very end, then into a cyclone. 2 kicks, then boost left. Malexi has a more advanced strat for this guy that I have not bothered to learn yet. I don't believe it's much of a time gain. Essentially what he does is, I think what he does is either jump into some kicks or uppercut into some kicks, and then do a downward cyclone, which goes through the boss's hitbox as well, and hold up during that, then kick and boost left, so that between the opening of the fight and when you start the boost, you never actually have to hit the ground. It saves a tiny amount of time because you don't need as many ticks on the boost at the end, but it doesn't save enough time that I've bothered to learn it yet. I will be learning it eventually. I don't have an example for you of it right now. I believe his PB video for Fortune Knight has it. It could be wrong though. As usual, the description below this video will have the leaderboard link as well as the Lilac knowledge base link that you see on the stream. I'm just going to keep going. Ah, did not jump off the ground. Okay, 3:46 is a pretty acceptable time for me. That's actually kind of a bad time by my standards. I'd like to be in the 3:30s. 3:35 is about where I like to hit. My PB is 3:31 right now as of the making of this video. When you start out, I would say try to shoot for 4:30. Try to break 4:30. Once you've hit that landmark, then once you start getting really good at the stage, try to break 4 minutes. 4 minutes is kind of a big barrier when you start out, but it's something you can break before too long. If you adhere to the strategies in this video, you should be able to get below 4 minutes within a couple weeks, I'd say, with dedicated practice. Maybe less time if you're particularly talented at picking up routes and practicing, and if you have a lot of time to dedicate to practice. Okay, so I've been making these videos at about a rate of 1 a week, so hopefully next weekend, or maybe even before then, I should have time to cover Sky Battalion. Until then, happy learning and enjoy the game. And I'll have to pause there.